Hello, I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of Celigo's Salesforce to NetSuite pre-built integration app. The very first thing I'd like to point out is I'm sitting on an account in Salesforce called Fresh Market. And I want to just briefly cover some of the out-of-the-box pre-built flows that we've already included. The very first one is an account. Of course, most accounts begin their life cycle in Salesforce as maybe even a lead or a prospect, but most customers don't want to create a NetSuite customer until the very first opportunity reaches a certain stage or that they've actually become a customer. So part of the flow that we have is a bidirectional sync between the Salesforce account and the NetSuite customer record. And that's a bidirectional real-time flow. There's no limit to the number of fields that you can bring between any of these records that I'm going to show you today. And I'll show you at the end of the demonstration, we've already pre-mapped all of the required fields. So what fields does NetSuite require at a minimum in order to create a NetSuite customer? But there's a few key things I'd like to point out that are included in this pre-built integration. The first is that in Salesforce it's a managed package, and in NetSuite it's a managed bundle. That means it includes all the custom fields that you're going to see, custom objects, also all the page layouts. You could still choose what each individual sees, but all the heavy lifting has already been done for you. And in this example here on the account page, you'll notice in addition to just regular information like names and addresses, we also bring back something that's pulling from the NetSuite customer record, and that is in the financial tab in NetSuite. And that is really how healthy this customer is financially. So credit limit, are they on credit hold? How old is their balance? What's the oldest invoice? So really giving the sales reps visibility into how healthy their customer is financially. And this is all pre-built and included in the flow. Also, we have a bidirectional sync as well for contacts. Some customers choose not to bring any accounting contacts back into Salesforce, but you could certainly make that choice yourself. But they are bidirectional real-time syncs. As contacts are created or edited, they're keeping both systems up to date. Now, one of the things that we'll talk about here is an opportunity. I'm going to open an example here of one that's already been created in the interest of time. And you're going to notice that most of our customers are originating their products in NetSuite as items. So as an item is created in NetSuite, it's going to automatically, one of our flows will create your product over on the Salesforce side. Now, the reason why we built that as originating from NetSuite out of the box is that leading practice from NetSuite, as well as most people in the accounting world will tell you there's revenue schedules, there's tax codes, there's billing schedules, a lot of financial accounting information on a NetSuite item. Should you decide that maybe you're using CPQ, for example, so you want to originate a product in Salesforce, we can certainly add an additional flow because this is built on our iPaaS platform, which really would support anything to anything. So just keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to keep walking through here just really quickly. Again, most of our customers are using a standard opportunity to sales order flow. So once it's closed won, for example, you can select a stage. I have mine set up to sync automatically to NetSuite as a sales order once it's reached a certain stage of closed won. I will note this is where we do see a few differences on CPQ. So if you are using it, there might be some differences. I'm going to point out here that notice once it closed won, it created a sales order in NetSuite. And it's actually, once it's done that, I'm bringing back this order record over into Salesforce. That's at the header level and the product line level detail. If your accounting team is making changes to the order, you're always going to see the latest and greatest update on the header and line level detail. In addition to that, it's going to give you any of the NetSuite information, like maybe what is the NetSuite sales order number, and updating your status as it's moving through its opportunity to cash life cycle. Has it been improved? Has it been billed? Has it even been fulfilled? Depending on whether your system requires fulfillable items. So as it's moving through the life cycle, giving your sales rep complete visibility to what's happening once they've actually closed this opportunity. Now, if you are using CPQ, this is where you could see some variation. Your CPQ might be just updating your opportunity, or it might actually be creating a Salesforce order object for you. If so, don't worry, we can actually create a flow. We have a flow that's going to be Salesforce order to NetSuite sales order. So just know that we can support you. Now, notice in this example here, it has the sales order has a status of billed. In addition to bringing the order back over from NetSuite, we're also adding under the opportunity some NetSuite financials. So as it's moving through its life cycle, in this case, it was invoiced, and in this case, it's paid in full, meaning we got a full payment for that. So the other financial transactions we're bringing in are, let me just list them all. They're invoices, cash sales, payments, credit memos, customer deposits, customer refunds. We even do cash sales, cash refunds as well. So all the different financial transactions, with the exception of journal entries, are going to come back in to Salesforce. So your sales rep has complete visibility without having to reach out to accounting. Now, I've actually implemented this myself as a former controller, and one of the things that I really liked is that in addition to bringing over the details of the financials, if your customer calls your sales rep and says, my invoice looks wrong, notice I can come in here to the actual invoice record. I can actually see if changes have been made to the invoice. You'll see that this was originally created on the 9th and it was actually updated, and that's a status update. So if I want to see the latest and greatest, this, if I click this, now don't laugh, mine are not very pretty, but I can actually look at the actual PDF that the customer received from the NetSuite system. So take a look here. This invoice PDF is exactly what is in NetSuite on that invoice record. So if your accounting team is updating it, then you're also going to be able to see all the updates as well. So just that's really, really helpful in addressing any customer questions. And that really does eliminate the need to say to the customer, oh, I'll get back to you, maybe eliminate some emails going back and forth between you and the accounting team. So super, super helpful. Before I leave the opportunity, another quick example here is if you need to bring over copies of customer POs, contracts, things like that, you can actually use the EchoSign DocuSign Premium feature, or you can actually also use notes and attachments. These will all come into NetSuite under your sales order. This is the example of the sales order that was created initially from the opportunity. And if you're using notes and attachments or our enterprise level executive features for EchoSign and DocuSign, then those are going to come in under your communications tabs for files or user notes. So the goal here with this particular piece is to keep your accounting team in NetSuite and your sales teams in Salesforce, and the elimination of a lot of duplicate licenses. So one thing I want to jump into really quickly is at the account level. We've all been talking about at the opportunity level at this point, but if I open up the actual account itself, if I'm a sales rep, notice I can also, in addition to seeing these high-level financials, I can come down and see all of the actual sales orders that have ever been created for this customer, what their current statuses are, and I can also see all of the NetSuite financials that have been created for this customer. So if a customer's collections department is trying to collect them, you could also come in here, and any invoice that's open, you would be able to easily see that as well. Again, the goal here is to give your sales team visibility into the opportunity to cash lifecycle. So how does Celigo make all of this happen? If we jump into what we call our Integrator IO platform, it's an iPaaS platform, you're going to see that we have pre-written all the most common flows, and it's called an integration app. So let's just review really quickly. As mentioned earlier, this is your bidirectional account to customer sync. This includes if you're originating them in NetSuite or if you originate your customers over in Salesforce. Either way, we've got you, and that includes adds or updates. So as things are changing on this record, in real time, we're going to update them. Same thing with contacts, bidirectional. Opportunity, what we discussed today was the original Salesforce opportunity. Once you decide what your trigger is, in my case, it was set up as closed won stage, it's going to come into NetSuite, create your sales order, and then if you're using any notes or attachments, it's also going to attach those as well into NetSuite. And then once we've created that sales order in NetSuite, we're going to bring that sales order record over. As I mentioned, if you have CPQ, we might be pulling from the order record since that record would already be created. So just know we've got you. Also on products, we talked about the best practice, leading practice is originating them in NetSuite. This is a great example of if you need us to originate them in Salesforce to NetSuite items. Since it is an iPaaS platform, we'll just add an alternate flow for you that's going to pull from Salesforce product. But the out-of-the-box solution is originating them from NetSuite. The other thing that we talked about here was the financials. Now this is product flow and financial flows are both scheduled flows versus real time, and you can have those run as often as 5 minutes. These are called batch jobs. This is actually pulling in all those individual transactions like invoices, payments, etc., and those are pulling in from into the opportunity in Salesforce and also the Salesforce account as I demonstrated earlier. This flow right here is the one that's pulling in that top level financial information in this section here, and this is telling you how healthy the customer is financially. And that pulls from your NetSuite customer record. You'll notice in the integration tool itself, let's just take a quick look. It's super easy for you to add additional fields. In this example here, I'm going to show you we've already pre-mapped all the required fields. What does NetSuite require in order to create a sales order? So we've done a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but most customers have custom fields that they also want to include. I'm going to launch our NetSuite Assistant really quickly here, and you're going to see that you are able to, for mapping fields, you can come in here, you can actually click on this and it knows the actual field name behind that field on your preferred NetSuite form. You can actually change your form if you'd like as well, but this is just making it really easy instead of guessing. Although if you are somebody who maybe is a sysadmin and wants to use internal IDs versus the field names, you can certainly do that as well. And then all you would do is come over here on this side and you would find your matching field. And then as soon as you've mapped that, you save and close, and from that point forward, when that Salesforce opportunity field is populated, once it's triggered, it's going to include that when it creates the NetSuite sales order. So this is just a real quick walkthrough of Celigo's pre-built integration app for Salesforce to NetSuite.